Hey guys, Vernier from the Hack Check podcast. I'm extremely excited to announce that we have partnered with Ligum Fight Gear. Ligum Fight Gear is the #1 premium brand for all of your fight gear and fight equipment. Everything from gis to rashies to this hoodie I'm wearing right now, gum guards, shin pads, even treadmills, you name it. Make sure you visit www.ligumfightgear.com. Link is in the description. As a special gift to all of the viewers, I'm giving you 10% off of all of your purchases, big or small. Use the discount code HACKCHECK10 at checkout for 10% off of all of your purchases. That's ligumfightgear.com. HACKCHECK10 is the discount code. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Nice. Busy now putting together an initiative for safer schools called My Safe Space, where we're going to install systems. We're going to grade it pretty much like a star graded system, like you go to a hotel, lodge, or a resort, and then share that data with the Western Cape government or education department, so we can see how we can start managing and improving the incidence of crime and understanding what are those crimes. Is it bullying? Is it guns? Is it knives? Is it drugs? What is it?
But is that with cameras as well and all that kind of stuff? So okay, whereabouts have you, or where are you going to start?
I'm starting here in the Western Cape. I've had one meeting with Safer Schools. They've got a very nice initiative, but that's more like a piece of paper initiative. And then I'm speaking to Angus McKenzie. He's one of the ward councillors here in the Western Cape. And I've got all the right partners on board. I've got MST, they have a registered listed company. I've got Vumatel. So I've got everything is there. I just need to also start the engine now.
Yeah. How did you get involved in that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's always been a passion of mine. Wanting to, give back to the schools and just finding how I could do it. And then a mate of mine, has got a big security business, and I came up with the idea, and we've been working on this idea ever since.
Nice. It's a good idea, because there's got to be something. There
has to be some standard, some standard that gives some sort of accountability. Because at the moment there's nothing. And sadly, you get schools, you have kids, they're slow learners, they're easily intimidated, they live with fear. At least through these systems, we can hopefully make a bit of a change and get to the point where, okay, it's 3 strikes, get out of my school now.
Yeah.
As opposed to 300 strikes.
Yeah.
And the cycle keeps repeating itself.
You hear stories, especially particularly in the Western Cape, of bad incidents at school. So it's a great thing that you're starting this, because like you say, 3 strikes is better than 300,
Yeah.
And maybe you get to stop somebody going into that spiral, maybe of a life of crime or doing stuff that they're not supposed to do, So it's a great initiative.
I think so too, and it gives you a different side to it. Parents can identify the curriculum. They can identify how many kids there are in the school. Okay, what sports do they play? Great. But what is your security grading? Like what is your...
How safe is the school?
No, how safe is it? And how do you do it? What is the level of accountability? And you've got to be careful. Your kids already come from underprivileged backgrounds. They've got such trauma and anxiety. Now they've got to go to a classroom where they know the same incidents are happening. How's that child going to be educated?
And even worse, there's nothing they can do about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sits there biting his nails, can't concentrate. Just by the time that bell rings, he rushes home, locks himself behind his front door. It's not a lot for the kids.
That's great. I hope when are you looking at rolling that out?
Yeah, we're looking at now launching about 4 schools to the year end. And then we've got a pipeline of about 300 schools.
Wow.
But sure, so we know it's just getting all the right paperwork in place, the right endorsements, getting donor funding, getting corporates to on board. because that's unfortunately
Everything
about-
always boils down to money at the end.
does.
You know, challenges or anything.
Yeah, you say like it, you can put as much of your own personal time and effort, but somebody has to get paid for it. The individual either says, well, I now need to actually put food on the table for myself, even though I've got a great initiative, or the initiative itself needs money.
Return on investment as well for the investors. So what did you say it was called? Safer Schools?
My Safe Space.
My Safe Space. Sorry.
My
Safe Space. I'll be definitely looking out for that.
Yeah, no. Look, you're going to be seen as.
Yeah, no, that's a great initiative. Now tell me, so just talking about schools and things, when did you start playing rugby at school?
I was a JP boy. Started playing rugby in Standard 6. Then Jake White landed up being my coach at JP.
Wow.
Yeah.
From Standard 6 already?
No, through the years. But then he took me in Standard 9 and 10. And then he converted me from a flanker to a hooker. And I'll never forget the first game against DHS. I went into the very first scrum of the game, and I popped my head out. And I turned to Jake and I said, I'm not doing this. And he said, Bullet. Oh, no, didn't call me Bullet. I said, Dalton, just put your head on the scrum.
Scrums were rough back in those days, eh? Yeah. That's before touch, pause, engage. It was just get up and go.
Try and brutalize each other. See if you can literally get the guy's spinal column to shorten by an inch or two.
The good old days of rugby. What made him convert you from a flank to a hooker? What was the conversation like?
No, it's just obviously saying in terms of my body development and the value I could add. He believed there was a lot more in the core and the belly of the beast. The rest is pretty much history.
What was it like back then? Because now schoolboy rugby is looks like it's almost professional. I mean, there's people are being scouted and have followings in 15, 16 years old. So you already have a following throughout the year. So people know come Craven week time, it's not just based off of when we were at school, the selectors would come and they'd be like, okay, Craven week trials are this date at this school, just pitch up and they'd kind of pick you on the day. What was it like for you guys when you got to Craven week selection?
Pretty much the same. You used to play your round robins against on your school calendar and league. Guys would identify, then you would go to your typical trials and tryouts and then get selected from there. And half the time, the guys didn't really know who was who, apart from if you had a bit of standout talent throughout the year, here or there, they would know of one or two guys. And then was also very much more influenced by the Afrikaner side of rugby. They were a lot more dominant. When I played Transvaal schools, it was hardly an English boy. When I played SA schools, I think I was the only Englishman in it.
Sure.
So,
what year were you SA school?
1990.
1990. And then from there, going to the professional ranks, I mean, was it fully professional back then?
No, far from. Professionalism only came in when we won the World Cup. So it was semi-professional. We were getting paid, but we weren't allowed to say we were getting paid.
Oh, really?
And then the big transition came after we had won the World Cup. So we went from getting a little brown envelope to getting an EFT into a bank.
Oh, nice. I think that's when the Super Rugby came. It was about, was it 96?
Yes, yeah. That's when we started the Super Rugby with the Sensor.
Super 10 back then.
Super 10.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So when you started, when you started going, say, professional, let's say, so after school, it was a couple of years before the 95 World Cup, eh?
Yeah. So there wasn't. We were still amateurs. So when we won the World Cup, we then decided to go on a strike. We were getting 7,500 rand. Then we decided to go on a strike.
A month?
Yeah, a month. Okay. Yeah. Then we decided to go on a strike, and we said to Doc Late, that's it, because we were the core of that Springbok team. So we said, no, we're not playing rugby. you must come to a meeting, Docklight. So he said, no, lekker, you'll come to the meeting. He walked in there, he said, okay, right, who's talking? Okay, what do you want to say? Right, say your say. And then he turned around and says, so we wanted to go from 7,500 Rand to 15,000.
Okay.
But now we said, yeah, boykies, must stand sterk.
Yeah.
You know, you can't let Docklight capitulate us. And his closing words were, he says, luister, kom ek vertel julle iets. Ek koop sommer 'n nuwe rugby span. Julle kan almal gaan.
Was this before the World Cup?
Yeah,
After the World Cup?
After the World Cup.
Oh, is it?
And then the Packer contracts came in with New Zealand and Australia, and those deals were broken. That's when we started going professionalism in terms of the money. But it hadn't gone professionalism really in terms of the training.
So were there a lot of guys in the 95 squad that were still working like jobs at that time?
Yeah, all of us.
Really?
All of us, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys were...
I mean, our training sessions, you'd come there, you'd train for 3 hours, and you go home. Train for 3 hours, go home. And then obviously apart from the build-up where we then stayed in the squad and together as a squad in the build-up to the World Cup. And then obviously during the World Cup. But no, you would go and apply your trade and go do your 10,000 hours and cut your teeth in whatever industry it might have been, sales, mining.
What were you busy with at the time?
What was I busy with? I was starting a chemical business. I was in my chemical business, making household detergents.
Oh, yeah. Household detergents.
Making
like
bombs.
A couple of months later, winning a World Cup.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, totally.
But now take me back to that time. I mean, do you remember where you were when you got your call for the box for that squad? Because I think you played one game before the World Cup, eh?
Yeah, I played. I came on as a debut for against Argentina at Boetie Rasmus.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it started at Boetie Rasmus, and then the lights went out for me at Boetie Rasmus, and then what was this funny? There was something that started.
There's another game you played at Boetie Rasmus, I remember later down the line.
That's what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get my head around that now. So my first test was then I was sent off there. And then obviously going now afterwards and seeing that they'd broken the stadium down.
Yeah.
Taking a photo and saying, well, I'm still standing.
But the Rasmus is not.
Take that,
yeah. Yeah, I grew up in PE and then I left to go study, and then I went, I think I went back twice. When we went back now in April, I also drove past, but I've seen like drone footage and things. I mean, they ripped the glass off the roof, they ripped the seats off the stands, that thing's gone, completely gone.
It's terrible. And the fact that they just leave it dilapidated and destroyed that, create some sort of they've put a development up there. I mean, it's even in a nice enough area where they can and create some history around it.
Yeah. They were supposed to do some conference center or something with 2010, but they just did the new stadium and that was pretty much it. So, but when you got the call to be part of the squad, do you remember where you were, what you're doing? How did it work back then? Did they literally call you on the phone?
Yeah, they'd call you on your home line.
Oh, yes. Yeah. The days before there were area codes, the 011s and all of that. It was just, there was like a 7-digit, eh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You still had to dial the code, 011.
Yeah.
What was my house number 6? It's still 6, I think 616.
616. Yeah, where were you in Johannesburg?
Kensington.
Oh, yes. Okay. I also grew up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then that was it. And then you were told where to convene and all get together there, cheery, excitable. Then you do your sizing for your clothes, your shoes, your trousers, your blazer. Then you all get kitted out and off you go. And then you stay in a hotel together for 3 weeks and you train.
Is this 3 weeks before the World Cup?
Yeah, we actually trained quite a lot longer than that. Probably about a 6-week camp before the World Cup, month camp.
What was because I mean, when did the Boks play their first test after readmission? Was it 92, 93? Can you remember?
It was 92.
92.
Because I think we actually toured Australia.
Mm. So it's only a couple of years after readmission into books, and then hosted the World Cup, and then what was the what? Because I think I was 4 back then, so I was like, I don't remember. I remember the World Cup. I remember my mom painted our face in the World Cup when it was World Cup final and everything. But I don't remember, like, obviously I was too young to remember ahead, before the World Cup. But when I watched Invictus, it was like they made it seem like the Springboks were struggling a little bit before the World Cup with form. Can you remember if that was the case?
Look, I mean, it was difficult to say because what did you gauge the form by? We were playing, like a Springbok A and a Springbok B, really. So there wasn't much form, but I mean, we had no like statistics to go by. So okay, well, we've warmed up against the English and the Irish and the Welsh and whatever. So it was pretty blind. It was our first World Cup in South Africa, and the next minute we were playing the world champions with the likes of,
in the first game,
David Campese, Michael Liner, Frank Willie Offenengawi, Phil Kearns, John Eels. I mean, rock stars at the game at that time. I mean, I remember as a kid watching those guys play the Bledisloe Cup against New Zealand on TV early hours in the morning and thinking, yeah, man, these are the boys. And the next minute you were running onto the field.
What is the preparation for that game? I mean, like you said, it's the world champions. I mean, you guys must have trained like crazy.
Look, we one thing we did, we trained military style. Kitch and Ray Mort at that stage just believed in absolute brutality in terms of fitness, and it made us mentally tough. Just remember, a lot of us were youngsters. We didn't understand the professional era, but we trained like professionals in terms of physicality and endurance, and we had a never say die attitude, and we had a good blend of players in terms of age, local experience, and I mean, the rest is history. It just all fell together, and shows you just with the right kind of preparation. For us, it was all a preparation, and then the support of our country, and then with some luck as well.
Was there any indication when the World Cup started? Because obviously by the time the final came, you have the moment, and we'll chat about that in a bit. The whole moment with Nelson Mandela being there as well, and the whole Ellis Park. Full Ellis Park is something else, by the way. But
definitely.
Was there any indication? Obviously, it's significant. You just came out of readmission, and it's the first. You're hosting the World Cup. Is that significant? But was there any discussion at the beginning of the World Cup to be guys, okay, this is a significant moment for us, or was it just focus in the moment? Let's just take it game by game.
Yeah, Kitch had a thing for us. You could take the high road or the low road. We still don't really understand what that was, but pretty much, the high road would be, winning all our games in our pool game, and the low road would, if we had faltered or fallen in one of our games, then we'd go through, maybe a little bit tougher round to qualify for the quarters. Because I think we would have, I can't actually remember, so I don't even want to go there. But we had nothing in terms of that international stage to measure on. I mean, we were amateurs. I was 20 years old. Oss was coming down to the Free States. You're started from Mpumalanga. You're Piano Springs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, we would still be eating steak and chips before a game.
Really?
We would be drinking beer 3 times a week.
Carbo loading the night before.
So that, it was it was just
a different time.
It was sublime to see actually that we were able to go onto the world stage and be as good as we were, because we were good. You know, we beat the world champions, and nobody gave us a chance in hell against. And then you could maybe have said, you know, there's other components of that as well. You know, that Australian side was on its way out. But, you know, every side that holds the title and comes back 4 years later to defend a world title is always going to be told they're on their way out.
Yeah. Dan Carter was saying it's like it's very easy for people to just say, well, they've won the last one. So when the moments get tough, they can just say, well, we won the last one. It's okay. We don't have to, you know, and that's always an excuse.
We know, you know, look, I mean, that's a good excuse to have to say, okay, well, listen, you know, I have won it. It would have been great to win it a second time, but okay, I didn't. But we as players and as athletes, we definitely don't see it like that. You know, and it's just things have to gel. The team has to get along. You have to agree on the game plan, how you want to prepare, when you want to prepare, and knowing that every person in that chain is committed to the ideology and the philosophy and the mantra of achieving that goal. Because if you don't have that, and you have guys running in different directions, you're not going to. Like-minded people are not going to. If you're not like-minded, you're not going to have the same consensus.
Yeah, and if you've got one person that doesn't pull their weight, it can derail the whole thing.
And then, again, World Cups are very dependent on form, game plans that are executed well. It's like a boxer or a golfer. You know, you've got a clear strategy of how you're going to play. The implementation, belief in the implementation of that game plan, and then yes, whichever way you want to look at it, a bit of luck, bounce of the ball,
especially the rugby ball being the oval ball.
And again, where does that luck emanate from? From the team that's got the biggest mental attitude, the most physical. Because remember, if I'm smothering a team, eventually they're going to make a mistake, and the ball will pop out the side of the ruck. Sure, and I'll pick it up and I'll score. But that only comes with the right kind of pressure and belief and that desire and absolute passion to want to win at all costs.
Yeah, you create your own luck through all of that.
Definitely, all those components.
Speaking of Boet Erasmus, I thought it would be a good idea just while we're going through the matches of the World Cup to get your reaction to the Canada game. And I actually, we were chatting a little bit off camera, more than anything, just to know what led up to these events. Because like, we can see the little skirmishes and everything like that, but can you remember, like, maybe we should just start the clip first and then we can go through it. But I mean, they looked like they just all they wanted to do was fight with you guys. I mean, it's almost that classic, you know, we're not going to win the game, let's just win the fight.
Oh, well, I think that's what they pitched up there for, was the brawl.
Check this. Can you see? Yeah. So there, right off the bat, who's the number 18 there? Is it yours?
Yeah.
Is it
the one on the ground?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, substitute. Yeah, this is where it really starts to kick off. Mark Andrews, eh?
Yeah.
This is the incident.
Yeah.
So there you are. They're coming in at the end there. Did you just see like there was a situation you're trying to defuse?
There was an incident with Peter and their player, and then a third player coming in. So my reaction was, you know, well, Peter's outnumbered there, go and intervene, and then all hell broke loose. And funny, you know, the rules have changed so much that those rules interpreted there was it's the third man coming in.
Oh, you were the third.
The guilty. So that was.
Hey. Yeah, you see that? There we go. Okay. But now, what I mean, were they? There we go. Was there no TMO back in that time? Eh?
There were no such luxuries. It was pretty much play it or kick it or hit it as you see it. Unless it had a severe cut over his eye.
Did they take him off for that? Because
They-
I know back in
yeah,
those
they
days,
did.
if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
wanted to play, you could probably play with that.
Yeah, no, you could. And
Yeah.
then obviously they then pull the footage apart. But the thing was, so when I went afterwards, I had a hearing at the stadium. So it was obviously the referee, and there was a panel of two French guys and then an interpreter. But what they actually did is they played this in slow motion to make it look like
Drastic.
instead of playing it in real time to get a real time understanding of the incident. Geez, that was.
Did you know that you'd miss the rest of the World Cup because of that?
Well,
No.
you pretty much knew it because being sent over the red card, you knew the consequences of a red card.
3-match ban straight away.
Yeah.
Hey. Sure.
I mean, if you look at that psychopath jumping up and down there.
Did they also just get the one red card, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, Peter, we got two red cards because Peter was also suspended out of the World Cup.
He threw the punch, eh?
Yeah, the kick. No, any kick he punched. Yeah. The interesting part was, so there was a hearing now to be held after the game at the stadium. And Doc Lade still came to me and he said, Bullet, don't worry. I'm going to give you a lawyer and I'm an advocate. And they're going to go in there with you and we're going to fight them. So I said, Lekker, Doc. And then Mornay Duplessis came with a different version and him and Doc were bumping heads. And he said to Doc, no, we're going to do this as, it's the first World Cup in our country. We're going to put the best foot forward. We're not going to be litigious. We're not going to be combative and confrontational. Let's deal with this in the spirit of rugby. Oh, well, the spirit of rugby was great, but that spirit of rugby was like my voodoo.
Yeah.
Because, as I mentioned to you, there were two French
translators,
two French representatives on the board, and a translator. Do you know that they did not? Well, obviously, if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. That they did not, the French guys never asked me a single question.
So they'd already made up their minds.
Yeah, they just sat there. I spoke, like I was alone. And I spoke, and they just sat there and looked at me. And then I said, but like,
what are you doing here?
To the English guy, I said, you're not going to say a word yet. And that was pretty much it.
So what do they do? They just ask you a bunch of questions?
Yeah, but it wasn't even asking them questions because, as I said, they didn't say anything. But it was, they had made up their mind. I infringed. I was the third man that came in. When I came in with the other player pushing me from behind, I hit that advertising board. And that sounded like a bomb going off. With that, the ref turned and obviously saw me running in and said, okay, my participation escalated it all. So if I didn't come in,
it wouldn't have been
that wouldn't be another kick or a punch by any LaRue or a kick by or Peter Hendricks, so all that sort of stuff. So that's how they interpret. So that was pretty much then the end of the Bullets World Cup.
Sure.
It was traumatic as hell.
I can imagine.
But in saying that, I'll never forget, there was a radio station, and those days were still the fax machines around. And they told me to come to the radio station where John Burks and all of them were. And there were bags, like refuse bags, filled with letters that people had written to me, supporting me.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to lie to you, man. There must have been 30,000 letters.
Really?
I mean, the country seriously mourned for me. It was terrible because I knew my World Cup was over. And you also start doubting, like, when are you going to have another World Cup?
Already then, I mean, if you're young and...
Yeah, you rugby, you develop stigmas for things. It's not like modern nowadays, you get a yellow or a red card. It's, No red cards those days. It was like gangster stuff.
Yeah, you had to really do some damage to get a red card
Yeah.
back then.
But I was then blessed and privileged enough. I put the green jersey over my head 67 times. Played for a World 15, played for a World Barbarians. I was number one in my country for like a decade. And thankfully the nation was forgiving of me. And I was able to make good for it.
Just a question: you retired quite young. The last question: why did you retire so young? What?
So I played at the age of 26 to go step back. So at 26, we had just won the Tri-Nations, 1998. And I don't know, man, I just lost my energy for the game, man. Lost my way in life, and I actually landed up joining the Hells Angels.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And don't ask me why. I mean, it wasn't like there was gravitas or whatever. And I just found myself down a path of never land and destruction. And at the time I met a girl, and she said to me one day, "But listen, weren't you actually quite good at what you did?" I said, "I was actually the best in the world." And she said, "But we'll go play again." So I found a personal trainer, and from nowhere I went on this journey, training every morning at like 5:30, running hills in Sandton where I stayed, and working really, really hard. And I made my comeback with the Falcons. And then I was drafted into the Bulls super rugby team. Landed up captaining them for a few games. And then the next minute I was selected back into the box. Pretty much the same year, but I'll explain to to your question. And then I started playing again, but at 28, or no, 30 then, the game had changed so much and become a different game with different players and characters. And I found those characters to be mentally weak. The youngsters come Monday to training, they would always have a hematoma, a bandage on their leg, and they can't train. But on Tuesday or Wednesday, they fit now, because now it's getting closer to game day.
They want to be selected.
You'd go on tours and they wouldn't do anything. They'd just lay in their hotel rooms and play TV games and drink Coke and go and eat at McDonald's. So, and I struggled with that. And I thought, James, whatever you do, don't become that guy that walks around and moans and finds fault with everything. Maybe you've just outgrown your environment. Maybe you just don't fit into the environment. And then we played against Australia at Ellis Park, also the Tri-Nations, when we beat them. And after the game, it was the selection of the World Cup squad for 2003. And I went to Rudolph. I said, "Coach, I'm out." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "No, I'm done." He said, "Why, Bullet?" I just said, I think I've now outgrown my space. Sure. When I'm finding myself in scenarios where I'm saying, in Maydar.
Yeah, back in my days, it was...
Ons het dit so gedoen, boetjies, and we did it. I thought, no, James.
Yeah.
Personally, when you say that, it actually hurts my own ears. And then also I'd lost that adrenaline.
You lost the drive to want to actually do it.
Yeah. And to now say something selfish, which is, on my side, I started losing a lot. And I wasn't the loser. I mean, I had an 83% win record in a South African.
Yeah. I think
jersey.
Your first loss was after like the 18th Test match or something.
So now I'm starting to lose as well. Now I'm thinking, no. This is not what James Dalton signed up for. And maybe selfishly, but I look back at it. Could have played 50, 100 tests. A lot of people believe that I could have played 100 tests. But it is what it is, and my legacy speaks for itself. I was good at what I did. I was the best in my country. And the game also started changing. So with changes comes new season.
Yeah, change can be a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, I started to go to the full professional era back then, in about around 2003. Actually, 2003 World Cup, maybe. Yeah, that was the Kamp Staaldraad World Cup, I think. That was the one. So maybe you're lucky you didn't go to that World Cup.
But now, let me, I wanted to touch on Kamp Staaldraad. So there was a lot of opinions around that. What that actually was. So Rudolph wanted to instill with the guys, if one guy does something, you're all going to do it. Otherwise, nobody does anything. And the guys went, and they had been running and carrying stuff on their backs, and they've been in and out of water, and they had their rugby shorts on. Now, on the short on the inside of there's that very thick seam, and the guys started chafing quite severely. So a couple of the players said, listen, Rudolph, can we take these shorts off? So he merely just said to them, okay, guys, if one of you take them off, you all take them off. And then obviously Peter de Villiers was there, obviously wanting to become the next coach. He filmed it and he sent it to the press, and the press got hold of it and positioned it that Rudolph Strowley was making a hut of everyone and trying to degrade them and belittle them and break them down. That was absolutely so far from the truth.
It was a massive thing back then. I remember. I was 12, but I still remember this, checking the photos, going, "What the hell's going on here?" These oaks are sitting next to each other in the back of a truck, naked, listening to the haka or something like that. I was like, "What is it? What are they doing?"
Listen, my bro, what doesn't break you makes you stronger.
Some of the faces on those there looked like some of those guys were broken, but it's probably in his mind was more kind of towards there used to be I forget what the unit was called. It's almost like our special forces. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of what you have to go through to join a. What are they called, man? But like if the president of the United States ever comes down, it's like it was a group of about 100 soldiers.
Like your
special task force.
Task force.
Yes. It's something like that as well. Then they start. You only get food. Like they have to go through. It's like 100 hours. Okay, obviously not that extreme, but they go through basically 100 hours. They take a piece of a train track with a cannonball on the one side, all of their gear, they hike back and forth, they don't sleep for 100 hours. And like I think on the 90th hour, all the sergeants or whatever are having a braai with chops, and then they give all 30 of them one chop to share, that kind of thing, But at the end of the day, the people have gone through that to make it. So when it's like anything that you have to go through to make it, you appreciate what you've gone through to actually get there. Especially something that hectic. So I think that's maybe what he was trying to do, was trying to get that camaraderie.
Just be careful of saying that now with the new millenniums, eh?
Oh, yeah?
The new millenniums, they get given stuff, bro.
Oh, that's true, yeah. They've got to still go through the fact of asking somebody for something,
So, the methodology behind sportsmen and getting into their heads is breaking them down to the bare nuts and bolts, and then breaking them up to see, so that they can see themselves and understand their own bodies when they know, okay, I'm functioning. This works for me. This doesn't work for me. I'm feeling good in this space. So it's all about breaking down and building up. And that's where the mental toughness comes from. Listen, and you have to really stand out in anything in life. Some components will be mental, some will just be disciplinary, some will be physical, but there is some component of breaking down, whatever that might look like.
Going past your limit.
Yeah. And then also understanding, like say, I know what works for me. I'm 51 now, but I know what works for me. Good routine works for me. Going to gym works for me. If I don't go to gym, I'm a monster. I don't socialize well. I don't play well with others. But once I know what my little barriers around me are that protect me, then I stay within those boundaries, and I function well, and I add value to people around me.
Now tell me, with that being said, was jiu-jitsu one of the things that you found that helped you with that? Or what's your jiu-jitsu story? Because a lot of people probably don't know this. I mean, the people that know you from around here and that are in reps and things like that know you have a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But when did you start doing jiu-jitsu?
So I actually had a background when I was a youngster of doing judo.
Okay.
So I got my Transvaal schools colors doing judo. My mom's side of the family, my uncle, his name was Johnny Zurcher. He was one of the best judo coaches and trainers in that day. And my godfather was Dougie Baggett. So anyone who knows Dougie Baggett, he was one of him and the what is the family? I'm trying to think now. Stevenson families. They were like the two iconic judoka families in South Africa. So, I had a background in judo. And I've always liked the physical stuff. And then boxing, I used to often after rugby training go and box at the Boyson's boxing gym as a extra layer of fitness. Brian Mitchell is a very close friend of mine. So we used to spar together and beat each other up quite badly.
After rugby training,
yeah.
Nonetheless.
And then, I've liked the contact stuff. And then I came to Cape Town and inquired about, I want to do this jiu-jitsu. And a mate of mine, Andre Fabing, said to me, why don't you go to Rico Hutting? He's one of the best in Cape Town. And I still remember phoning him and calling him Oom.
Because like 12 years younger than you or something. Yeah.
We still laugh about it today.
How old was he back then? He's probably also like in his 20s.
So I've been in Cape Town now 11 years, been 51. So go do the maths.
Okay, okay.
And I'm calling him Oom.
He wasn't even 30, but probably. Yeah. That's funny.
And I joined the gym, and it was very humbling for me. Like I said, I had a green belt in judo. I boxed. I was comfortable in the boxing ring. So now I arrive at the first session there with my starched white gi on, with my white belt. It hasn't even been folded once. And I'm looking, I'm saying, geez, James, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
There's like more senior belts. These kids are younger than you. And so it was very humbling. And then the minute I started rolling on the mat, I'll never forget that first night I tapped out like 7 times. I thought, goodness gracious, what the hell is going on? Yeah. And since then, it's just been an absolute journey and a learning experience to show how easily you can be humbled when you put yourself in someone else's feet or in their environments, or you even get an understanding of someone. And I think you and I spoke about it earlier. Is, sometimes take time to find out about other people. And then I tried to go do 1 or 2 tournaments, and I was just abused by the people.
Really?
Yeah.
As a white belt or?
No, blue.
Blue. Yeah, that's when it starts to get really serious.
Yeah, and the people were nasty. I mean, I was almost in the stage of tears where, Dalton, what are you doing? Yeah, it's not a rugby field.
No.
And it was cuck. Because they didn't know what it took for me to go there. But okay, be that as it may, that's more on their side. So, that put the living fear of me going to compete. But, my goal, rather, not my game, my goal is I'd like to get my black belt. Currently I'm probably the oldest in the gym.
No, I don't think so. I think there's, no, you won't be. I don't want to say it on camera because I don't know, maybe they're not, but there's a couple, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's a lady that I follow on Instagram that started, she just also, I think, got her purple belt. She calls herself a Jiu Jitsu grandma. She's 67.
Oh, wow.
She started at 60, stand under correction, like 61.
Okay.
There's another video I saw of a guy that got he started in his 70s.
Sure.
Shame. I mean, the guy can barely walk now. I mean, he's old. He's in his 80s.
Oh, bless him, man.
Got his black belt in his 80s.
Boy.
You played against Tana Umanga, right?
That's right.
He's got his black belt.
Oh,
I don't know if you know. Yeah, did you see? I don't know if you've seen.
No. Let's go look him up on Instagram.
Scary looking dude.
He was always an intimidating player.
Watching him do the haka, there's no one that I've ever seen again do the haka like him.
Yeah.
When he's like ripping over his chest. But I imagine standing across the mat, and then there you've got, I mean, okay, you know what it's like to stand across in the field from him, but Tana Umanga, that guy was a complete beast. But yeah, also got his black belt now. A lot of people are starting to get into it. You know, it's a good lifestyle. I think jiu-jitsu.
I think so. Anything where that involves sport and discipline and learning, where you're learning cultural stuff, you're learning that hey, this is not your space. You come here, things are done differently. It's got nothing to do with race, culture, anything.
Your money, your job, nothing.
Yes, it's got to do with traditions that have come like 1,000 years. You know, someone still told me this. I don't know if it's but you know, there's a English Cockney rhyming slang, and they call it a pork pie, which is a lie. So I don't know if it was a lie to me when they said. I once asked somebody. I said, "Explain to me the colors. Where did they come with the colors of the belts?"
Yeah,
and they pretty much said, "Well, when the sport started like centuries ago, is you were never allowed to wash your belt." So obviously, the darker, the dirtier the belt showed how long you had been doing the sport for. So hence, from white, you get your ultimate in your black. Quite interesting.
Interesting. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know about that. I'll be honest with you, because so Roberto that started Rio Grappling Club, Roberto Tala.
That's right.
He's also he's also been on the podcast actually, and he was explaining, and another guy that I know that's a judo black belt and a jiu-jitsu brown belt was explaining to me. They just had white and black, basically. So if you were a beginner, you wore white. And then if you were advanced advanced, basically, you wore black. So there was no belts in between. But then when they took the sport to Europe, apparently the Europeans used to complain that there was no steps in between. And then apparently that's when they brought the belts into it. So then they had the little steps in between. But I like your story better.
My story is much better.
Mine's cool. Mine's way more boring. So... Hey.
Bloody colonialists. They're nonsense again.
But are you still training in jiu-jitsu?
I do. Not as actively as I should. I concede that. You know, you'll go through, you know, it's just sometimes work-wise and you're not in the right headspace, and then you get momentum and you pick up the flu. I was struggled quite a bit with recent shoulder surgery. And then I have to say this because I have to just say it. I fell and dislocated my left shoulder after I had a tendon replacement in the shoulder. The tendons had shriveled up so badly they weren't able to be reattached.
Wow.
So I had to get a donor Achilles tendon put in the shoulder. So that healed beautifully about 3 years ago or so, 4 years ago. And to the year, I've went out and I think I had too many whiskeys and not paying attention. And I fell. And I popped my shoulder out.
From a fall?
But listen to this. When I do something, I do it properly.
Sounds like it.
So you got in the back of your neck, you've got your nerve radio, like nerve plexus, nerve hub. It's like your gearbox. And I pinched my auxiliary and my radial nerve. So pretty much picture a carpet that you put a couch on. And when you remove the couch, the carpet's compressed.
Yes,
So I had compressed those two nerves. My arm was lame. When I'd fallen and I tried to get up, I've collapsed again. I had to lift my arm up.
Oh, wow.
It took a year to recover. So it's been a hard journey, you know, in trying to just get that momentum back. But like I say, my goal He's my black belt.
Mm.
And then I want to go and do some competitions again. No, it's not about thinking I'm going to go there and be the Springbok on the mat. But I'd like to do it because I know when I'm old and shriveled and whatever,
you're going to regret not doing it.
I'm going to, absolutely. And I know myself. I'll be like that.
But also, you know what? I think it's changed since that time anyway. I mean, I think like now people... I mean, the competitions that I've done as well recently, like at now, it's not, I mean, okay, I never didn't play for the Springboks and have a recognizable face or anything like that. But from what I've seen now, it's completely different. I mean, there's so many, Jiu Jitsu semi-gone mainstream already now. So there's a lot more encouragement for people to want to do stuff. There's a lot less of that, you know, what you were talking about earlier as well. So yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, regardless of what age you are, there's categories for every I
saw now competition coming up with the various categories.
That's where the guys were joking about being masters. I'm masters 1.
Okay.
I'm like a couple of years above 30 and I'm already in the masters division. So that one goes every 5 years.
Soon at the dojos, you're going to be having parking space allocated closest to the door.
People are going to start calling me Worm now as well.
Well, I don't.
Oh, they already do, actually.
Yeah.
Some of the younger members. No, but that's good. I think you should. I mean, it's something that it's a lifelong skill that you have. It's not something that's,
sure,
you know, you can do it for the rest of your life.
And again, you know, it's like, you know, it's not an arrogant thing, but, you know, if you can inspire other people to say, shucks, you know, look at James Dalton. He's not embarrassed to do it. You know, maybe it opens up another avenue for the sport or for people just to come out and say, you know, let me try it. But, you know, another one of my passions, and, you know, we were speaking earlier about, you know, what my involvement business-wise is. And my passion at school is eliminating the stigma of bullying at schools. To try and create like some sort of a superhero, and I know Rico does very well with his bully stop.
Yeah,
is to go and, you know, do talks at schools around the impacts of bullying in society and what that looks like and what a bully looks like and what is bullying actually. You know, people always just think bullying is physical. You know, it's mental, it's
social media now.
It's humiliation on various social media platforms, as you said. So that's one of my passions, and then hopefully, you know, I'm trying to speak to the SA Rugby guys. You know, they've got their little Bocky. That's their superhero. And I want to maybe zhuzh him up a bit and put a cape on him, maybe a belt on him, and, you know, call him Bocky proof.
Pop a gi on him as well.
Yeah, you know, and go and make a difference. You know, I think if we all contribute to our country and our societies and our own well-being, if we're looking after ourselves, we'll be able to look after those around us and our country and have a little bit more respect.
100%, yeah. And I mean, sport's the perfect place to do it.
It is.
I mean, from 95 to what we see now, it does. I mean, there's so many problems going around now. Springboks won on the weekend. People forget about their problems for another week.
They do.
It's crazy, eh?
They do. And even publicly, you don't even have to know anybody. You can be standing in a queue waiting for a coffee or whatever it might be. And you can land up having a conversation with someone you've never met. In fact, you don't even know his name. And you could be standing there for 30 minutes talking about rugby. Now, is that not amazing?
Happened to me today.
Yeah.
I went and got some biltong at the biltong shop and the oak started talking about rugby straight away.
Yeah. So now you've got a point of departure, and out of that you can build on it. You can start networking, you can start meeting new people, expanding your businesses, your social circle, your just generally where people, instead of putting their heads down and just walking, maybe just lift your heads up now through sport and pay attention and acknowledge each other. You know, there is a world, there are people around us. And again, from my side, you know, 51, I mean, I'm like way over whatever the guys are now. But what sport still does for me today is incredible. when I phone and try and get to a CEO, you'll always have the PA blocking him and guarding him with dear life.
Yeah.
And I say to the PA, I said, look, it's James Dalton. Sometimes, bless them, they won't know who I am. They're probably only 25 years old. And I said, look, just say to him, it's James Dalton, the former Springbok rugby player. And as 5 seconds later,
picks up
he's
the phone.
on the phone.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed by it. And sport can bless people and our country and make a difference. And we must embrace that. A little bit makes for a lot.
100%. Yeah. I saw you at the was it the last game before the World Cup? I think it was, and there was a whole bunch of the former Springboks that went up to Ellis Park, eh?
Yes.
Yeah,
it was the Argentinian game, and we had a bit of a reunion there. So we had the 95 Bullies.
Is that the official name or is that your group name?
Because it's so funny how some of the guys have aged. A lot of my peers in 95 were anything between 7 to like 9 years older than me. So we now to call them Bullies. And then we had the 2007 winners, and then obviously the 2019 guys were playing that day. So it was a nice get together. The guys were a little bit stiff and with each other, but the minute guys got stuck into the brandy and the beer, and then it
all the old stories come out again.
Then it was like we had never left each other.
Yeah. How often do you guys see each other though? Do you keep contact at all? Or?
No, look, life goes on. And that's the sadness with a lot of sportsmen. They do not have the ability to reinvent themselves. They tend to have this issue of entitlement and expect, well, I'm James Dalton. You must give me a car and you must give me a job and give me a big salary. And
I'm set for the rest of my life.
It doesn't work that way. And so, the guys separate. Some get married, some get divorced, some have kids, some have businesses, some businesses fail. So, the guys, they become a bit disjointed. They go out there and they struggle. Well, not I wouldn't call it struggles, but they struggle.
I'm sure it's a massive adjustment to go from playing sport to...
Yeah, man. One thing I've got to say, and people don't understand, is that players need more psychological and mental support and mental wellness guidance. Because when I stopped playing rugby, I was James Dalton, the rugby player. I was the business. I was the shit. Then when I stopped, I was just James.
Overnight.
Cool. Now I wake up and I think, okay, where do I go today? What do I do? I've got no hours around the boardroom table. That book of the 10,000 hours around the boardroom table. I've got zero. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't add skill. I can't add anything. Yes, that takes me maybe another 10 years. But by that time, I'm already in my mid-40s. Now, 35, most guys have got degrees. They've cut their teeth in business. But now I'm coming at 45, wanting to compete with a generation that's a decade younger than myself and more intellectually smart around how they conduct themselves in a business environment. So it becomes difficult. And that's where a lot of the players fall by the wayside with alcoholism, drug abuse, and we've all seen that. Squandering of our money, loaning our money to people, giving money to people, thinking we're smart and we know what we're doing. Meanwhile, it's getting stolen or taken from us. And you look again, now you're mid-50s, now you're thinking, hey, bro, I've basically got to start from the beginning. So there's a different world from the sportsman, which is great. I encourage it, and it's a great life. But there's a very sad life outside of that. The aftermath. You can almost call it the aftermath.
Yeah. No, I can imagine if one day and it happens overnight. I mean, I can imagine, and that's why, more and more you're seeing with sportsmen now. Okay, obviously like current day sportsmen, like Springboks, perfect example. they've got a lot of ventures outside of rugby.
They do.
So they've obviously got, and unfortunately, fortunately for them, but maybe unfortunately for the people ahead of time, like anything in life, like how many people had to eat a poisonous plant before people realized it was poisonous, had to bump their heads. A lot of people obviously had to go through those growing pains for the people now to not have to go through it. They're quite fortunate, I think, with this whole the professional era the way it is now. And I think even in years to come, if you look at how football is and how much money's in football, and rugby is just going to keep going and going and going in that way. But yeah, like you said, the most important thing is it's yes, make all the money and everything, but trying to keep it and what happens after rugby, trying to have something set
and
for that
it's just
time.
your wellness, physical wellness. Are you able to participate with your kids? Or can you run? Have you got knees left? How's your shoulders? How's your mental wellness? That's a big thing that guys don't focus on either, because it's one thing having the money. A lot of guys struggle with the social identity adjustment. But and guys also develop that fear of even going out and being in public spaces. So, but obviously, I think you said it nicely now. It's thankfully that there are leaders that have maybe taken a few bullets for us.
No pun intended.
For us, for the later generations. But then, you sometimes look at where our world's gone and you think, do we ever actually bloody learn? You look at the chaos and the turmoil and the animosity that exists. But
that's something that we can talk about for hours and hours.
But no, sport is great. Sport is good. I mean, we're a nation that relies heavily on our rugby.
I mean, we haven't even had load shedding for the last couple of days. I mean, that's how good it's been. It's World Cup final. I think the government's waiting to see what happens with the World Cup final. If we lose, no load shedding. If we win, they'll be like, okay, they're still happy from celebrating the victory. Pop a load shedding in there every now and then,
Listen, my brother, I think we're going to get a public holiday that's going to be put in the calendar.
I've heard they might, that's a serious thing, eh?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen, this weekend?
Look, getting into a final is always the most difficult journey. You look at the build-up and the hype around the dominance of the Northern Hemisphere. So we've managed to overcome that. I don't think our journey's been pretty getting there, but doesn't matter. We're in a final, and it's always on the day of a final. It's the side who applies the most amount of pressure to force the other team to make as many mistakes as they can, capitalize on those mistakes through penalties or tries. And obviously, play within that law that is going to make the game competitive, so you don't find a scenario of 14 versus 15. But in saying that, my blood is green, my hair can't be green, otherwise I would have made it green.
We got the green background at least. We got enough green, yeah.
But I'm confident that we can make it back-to-back World Cups. The All Blacks are not going to be a walkover. If I had to look at the two sides right now and say who is the form team going into this final, I would sadly have to say that the All Blacks are the form team.
Oh, for sure.
Are we a little bit more smart than them? I do think so. We've got boatloads of experience, not only from our coaching staff, but the players on the field is remarkable compared to what the All Blacks have. I mean, they've got their... but the big deciding element and component that always comes into play is the strength and the impact that our bench can make on a game and how they can turn a game on its head. And if the All Blacks can't neutralize, if they can't bring their bench up and get them to that level of making that impact, and we're able to succeed and supersede that, then we will win. Will it be by much? No, it's going to be
close.
Very, very close. So get those urbanols out, my friend.
Listen, but this, I mean, just if you look at the magnitude, obviously it's like back-to-back World Cups. So if you look at this group of players, right, they're actually emulating every single previous squad that's won the World Cup from the box. If they beat New Zealand in the final, that emulates 1995. They win the World Cup in France, it emulates 2007. They go back-to-back, it actually emulates the greatest, people consider the greatest team ever, New Zealand 2011 to 2015. I mean, they'll go down. I think Kolisi's probably gone down as the most successful captain, probably of all time. I mean, Lions Tour, 2 finals, winning one, winning the Tri-Nations. I mean, you know, everybody in this team. I mean, Etzebeth would probably go down as one of the best locks, if not the best.
Probably
you know,
one of the greatest of all time.
So, I mean, there's a lot, obviously, I mean, it sounds stupid to say it's a World Cup final. There's a lot to play for, but these guys are on the verge of all-time greatness to be able to emulate everything that previous squads have done.
Look, they're definitely going to become iconic. They're going to become legends of world rugby, you know, by emulating that and achieving that greatness. You will never have it easily in our generation again, to be quite honest. And if it does happen, I mean, what a fairy tale, what a rock star story, and you know, may it bring much blessings more for the guys. Our country feeds off our sport, especially our rugby. It will be fantastic for our country. Bring about change, positivity, energy, and for the players, I mean, to bring up the register.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's probably the afterthought at the end, but yeah, for sure. I mean, across the whole world, I mean, that would be. I think you look at marketing.
They'll go down as the greatest. If they win on Saturday, they'll go down as the greatest group of players. In the history of the game. I mean,
I think yes, yeah. I think that. I mean, to win back to back, and I mean, yeah, but there'll always be that debate between them and that group of players from 11 to 15 from New Zealand, the All Blacks, Richie McCaw being the captain.
With the Springboks.
Yeah. No, listen, I think, you know, if you look at that group of players, you could take any one player out of that team and replace him with somebody else, like we talk about the bench. Everybody knows, and this is the most important thing, everybody knows their role, what they need to do 100%, and everybody seems like trusts each other 100%. That's how you can be 9 points down with 10 minutes left and still win the game.
Absolutely. And knowing, you know, under severe stress, and that you know, although you didn't have the ability to exercise your game plan, you still utilize the players that you had to be good enough in their respective positions to get the win for you. And you know, it was small little wins that eventually got it for us. You could see, you know, that second half when the English hadn't made mistakes, all their box kicks were on point. Now they're kicking directly into touch. 4 knock-ons in the first 10 minutes of the game. That was the small major mind shift. And then obviously the big one was when we started getting scrum time again.
Oxen chair.
I mean, I loved it. I mean, I cannot stand that Sinclair from England. And I thank you for him that he came up and he was totally annihilated. And for him, he actually lost England that test match.
Yeah.
You know, and then Ox was, I mean, that's just a monster of a performance. But it shows you how you build in each one is an individual, but collectively they're great. And that's, again, another lesson for, you know, the man in the street is, you know, you're only good as your sum of your moving parts, or as a partnership, and not individually.
Did you, because I think a big thing also about the squad is like the leadership from Rassie as well. Did you guys ever, did your timelines ever cross? Did you know him well at all?
I played with Rassie when we equaled the All Blacks world record for those 17 test matches.
Yes, yeah. Was that under Nick Mallet?
Yes,
Yes, okay, yeah.
So now I've had to do a lot to do with Rusty. Obviously, we also personal house friends. We quite close.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So smart man. He sometimes gets you so worried about what he's doing, and the coaches have the ability to also change their players' focus.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the game and the play, now they're worried about lights and
Yeah.
and his little comments and his innuendos.
I love the guys' mind games with World Rugby. I mean, did you see where they said, "Oh, Rassie Erasmus picked your team for the weekend" to the English coach, and the English coach, really? It's just the mind games. And then when they banned him as well for getting involved, I can't remember what it was for, and then they gave him a ban from World Rugby a couple of years back. I was just taking the piss at home and talking about the ban and everything. He looks like a fun guy to be around.
No, he is, and the players enjoy him. He gives a lot of responsibility to the players, and in saying that, he's smart. So it's one thing me being smart, but I do not know how to carry the message over or get the buy-in. He has that ability, to bring all those moving parts together. I could be talking about Martians and aliens and all sorts of futuristic stuff, but my players don't believe it. My players don't see it. They're not going to achieve it. And we've got everything there. I mean, there's just those players. Like I said, if they win this World Cup, they can become iconic for the country, and if they utilize beyond their sport for other parts in our society. I mean, it can, it also just from a tourism point of view, from being known, this little piece on the tip of Africa, the African continent, South Africa, we're known worldwide through our rugby, So, no, it's all good, man. All good.
Score prediction, lastly, for this weekend. I know you said it's going to be close, but do you have what do you reckon? 14-17?
Yeah, look, I think it. I think maybe like a 17-13.
I also think something like that. Mind you, we've never conceded a try in the final, but things do change. So I also think there. So you said 13-17. I'm going to go 14-17.
Yeah. It's going to be close. It's going to be decided on a try and a penalty, or one of the two. That is what the point difference.
Just imagine Pollard doing a Stransky style drop goal in the last minute, just to emulate it.
I don't actually care how they do it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the worst rugby for 80 minutes, as long as when that whistle goes, we're ahead on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And we lift that trophy.
That's true.
That's all.
That's how we felt in 2007. So, Yeah. Okay. 14-17, 13-17. So hopefully it's close to that.
So let's see. But as I say, as long as it's a win.
Yeah.
Go Boca.
A win is a win. Yeah. Lastly, James, I just want to see, we've got a compilation here of your, I think this is just general moments. It was this tries.
First of all, me doing a brilliant introduction.
So we saw the video of the Canada moments, but obviously there were other great moments throughout the career. So it'd be good to just get your reaction to this as well. Bankfin Curry Cup. I remember those days when I was very young. I think the Bankfin is that Eastern Province?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Is that where was that? Ellis Park.
Ellis Park. Now that was the same squad, the '95 squad that was the dominant choice selection for the World Cup.
Yes, Lion Lager. I just remember seeing that everywhere when I was a child. I don't know I knew it was a beer, but
a lot of us still say we wonder if it wasn't Doc Late's beer. Lion Lager. Now I remember this tap kick I took without Francois Pinault's permission, and it was like a 50-50 on if it went to the TMO now.
Sure.
I don't think it would have been allowed, but this eliminated the Northern Transvaal out of the Curry Cup final.
Oh, really?
And we actually then played the following week, and we played Natal at Ellis Park.
Was it still back then? Was it still like semis? This the
Yes.
current format is now. So log and
Yes. Yeah.
okay, nice.
I had a bit of hair there.
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
So where did the bullet? Is it just where did the nickname
So when
come from?
Kitch joined Transvaal in
There you go. Yeah, check it step.
So I'm going to tell you this, but on that step, you see our sidestep Cabos,
Yeah.
Jeremy Thompson and James Small. I still ran past them, and I asked him, should I buy them a ticket to come back in the stadium?
Yeah.
This was the tour where we were the first South African team, or the first touring side to have beaten the French on home soil in a test series.
Really?
For like over a decade.
Sure. Who's that fluff? Is that Honeyball?
Yeah, Honeyball.
Henry
Craven,
Honeyball.
Mark
Andrews. Who's that? On the
Um,
wing there.
the
There you go.
the Northern Transvaal player, what's his name? Paul, we can't even remember.
Is this Stade Francais or where's that? Do you know?
I think that was Marseille. I think it was Marseille.
There's an old Aussie. That's Tri Nations.
Mm.
That's Andre Hubert, eh?
Yeah, we gave them a walloping in this game as well.
Yeah.
The Rolls Royce.
I think that was this is the record winner. Is that Percy?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then you don't see the full thing, but Yanni threw that ball inside. That's when I obviously caught it and went over for the try.
Yanni de Beer. Remember when he did the 5 drop goals in the 99 World Cup?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Is that Kings Park?
No, that's Loftus. Mm. And then here comes
France. Yeah, because France they were still good back then. Because I remember in 99 they played the final as well. They beat the All Blacks in the semi-finals in 99. But that's the thing with the French is like if they wake up on the wrong side of bed, you'll pump them, and if they wake up on the right side of bed, you don't know what to expect.
They used to be very much like that, but now they've become a lot more consistent. They've almost lost that instability factor. That now you know which team is going to pitch up now when you play the French.
Much more. I remember this.
Actually, it was
tugging on your jersey.
Yeah, there were a few companies that actually used this try for ads. One was O'Hagan's, the sports pubs.
Yeah.
And then Bernardo also used the one where I walked off the field with my when I was sent off against Canada.
Yeah. This is at Twickenham, obviously, eh?
Yes.
Nice in the corner. What's it like playing at Twickenham?
Lovely. Absolutely. It's a very, from an atmosphere point of view, lovely. Okay, look, the English are not the nicest people. So, but yeah, it's a nice place to go and play rugby and win. Definitely. It's like if you go to Scotland or Ireland or Wales, it's lovely playing there as well. These stadiums are iconic, but you almost feel sorry after you've beaten them because they're such nice people. The English,
you don't give a shit.
No, the English, no.
Yeah.
It's like I say to people, I'd rather lose to Australia before I lose to England.
Really? Yes.
That bad.
Flip, man. This is part of the run, I think, when you guys had the unbeaten run.
That's exactly it. This is the year we won the Tri Nations.
I think, was Bob Skinstad in that squad? Yeah, I remember he just started. Oli LaRue.
Ole.
Yes, he was famous at one time, eh?
He was.
Yes, he was like the darling of the country. And there's Oosterrand's comeback. Yes, yeah, man. So, like, if you look back on everything now, I mean, you're obviously proud of your whole career and everything like that. Is there a moment, obviously, besides the 95 World Cup, is there another moment that stands out to you where you think like, yes, I did that? You know?
Look, I think if you go back, as you say, there's a lot of significant moments that always would lead to another great moment. So, being selected for starting at Transvaal schools, it was like, wow. Then SA schools, then you knew you were set a little bit apart from the normal Currie Cup player. Then playing the first test for your country was landmark. And then through the years, obviously winning trophies like World Cups and Tri-Nations, winning Currie Cups. And then significant others where you selected into a blend of international teams, like a World 15 that I was selected for at 21, and then a World Barbarians team. So those were moments that all made for a great career. And then just the memories of the teammates and the camaraderie and the memories of the training, and still being blessed and privileged today in my country to be known for being a good rugby player. Because without the public and the man in the street, we or myself, wouldn't be blessed the way we are.
Well, James, I really appreciate the time coming through today, and it was really nice to chat to you and get some inner details on some of the moments that we saw. And hopefully I get to get back to reps and we maybe get to train together one day. And
I think we mustn't say maybe you and I must just make a day of it.
Yeah.
Even if we go there together and say, right, James, what are you doing this afternoon?
Yeah.
Let's go have a bit of fun. I look forward to that.
100%. Thank you so much, James. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming through.